Well, we've got a bit more music for you this morning, and Jack Pantazis joins me. And Jack, I would say, would be a virtuoso of the guitar. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Ron. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Well, nice to have a chance to chat with you. I received a message about a new album you've released. It's been a while, hasn't it? A 12-year break.
Yes, it has. I'm not that prolific in writing and doing a lot of sort of recordings. I'm very busy as an active musician working with so many different people. And so the opportunity came up to do another one, and I thought, well, it's a good time. And, of course, I was heavily influenced by, the album is called Because of Her, so all life sort of experiences there and meeting my wife. So a lot of music coming from that sort of story and background.
Yeah, certainly. With the songs, what would you say you play guitar? Is it a jazz guitar style you have?
Good question. My background is and being brought up listening and playing sort of jazz, but the album you could sort of label as that, but I think a lot of people, if they listen to traditional sort of jazz, straight ahead sort of jazz, they might find, wow, there's a few different sort of feels and grooves on the album. So yes, I think some people who, like myself, who grew up listening to people like Barney Kessel and Joe Pass and Herb Ellis and Wes Montgomery, you may see or hear some of that influence, but there's a lot of other influences in the music too. So there's a lot of Latin feels and some classical sort of approaches to playing. Because my background as a working musician, I freelance and work with a lot of different people and different genres as well. So what you hear on the album is a jazz guitar album. Yeah. But a contemporary sound.
Yeah. You work with John Foreman, and very well known for working with particularly school kiddies, and also Carols By Candlelight. 8 years you've been doing that, so that must be a great thrill to entertain people, so many people.
Yeah, it is, and I've been very privileged to have done it now the last 8 years and been the guitar chair for that orchestra. And, of course, getting back to your earlier question, the genres thing, if anyone tunes into that, there is just so many different genres that happen through that show, from country to jazz to rock and all sorts and pop. It's a terrific opportunity to play, and it is quite intense playing live to millions of people and hoping everything goes well, which under the direction of Mr. Foreman, and it always does. It's just amazing to be under that sort of direction. Yeah. And, of course, my brother's the drummer on that show. He's been doing it for 21 years. So we get to sit in the same pit, or the pit, and do the thing. But, yeah, Jerry's on my album, and we do get to play. Like, we play the Thursday night here in Melbourne. It was that group on that album. That's the Carols thing.
Yeah. How's jazz accepted nowadays? Is it still as popular as it was, Jack?
No, that's another good question. It's how do I answer that? Like here in Melbourne, we're quite lucky to have a few good venues. You could say they're jazz venues, but they do vary with the type of acts they get in. And the main area or the main place I play, it's called here in Melbourne, it's called the Paris Cat Jazz Club. Now, even under that sort of name, you think it's all jazz, but they do a variety of things there. I play in a band that does Billy Joel material. Tonight I'm playing there with a group, a singer who does an Ella Fitzgerald show. But to get back to your question, I think, here, that club there has a lot of jazz, a lot of, original, what people would relate to, listening to like Ella Fitzgerald or Duke Ellington, all that sort of stuff. But in the general sort of way of things, that's a hard one for me to answer. I know the ABC, has for many, many years have their jazz programs and so forth, and I'd like to think it's just bubbling away nicely. But as far as the work type of thing, besides here in Melbourne, I think it's pretty hard to get out and to obviously tour and do things, which I'd like to do. I'd like to get around and do it.
Well, what sort of age group are you looking at, Jack, at the show you put on? Is it more younger people finding jazz?
Yeah, look, the other night, for example, it's always been a good cross range. There's students of music to come who are in their late teens, early 20s. There are people in their, 30, 40, 50 bracket. It's music. From what I feel, what I do is it's very accessible jazz. That's one way I'd like to put it. It's not esoteric. It's not over your head, frowning type of music. I think it's music that I hope speaks of something, and people can relate to it and probably tap their foot to it, and hopefully even whistle a tune or a melody back. So, yeah, it's pretty broad, I think, the music. And I think I'd like to say that it is accessible for lots of different age groups to listen to it.
All right. Now, the album is called Because of Her, and it's varied tracks. As I mentioned, it's sort of very slow, smooth stuff. We're going to play a song that's, fairly up-tempo, brassy, and tell us what the song is called What Again? How did that come about?
Okay, so What Again? I have released 3 albums up to this point, and this tune that you folks will hear was on my first album, which I reworked. I really, really liked it, but I really wanted to reinvent it somehow. So going back to how it came about, well, it's quite a while back. Some tunes in this album are fairly new, meaning the last 4 or 5 years they've been written and just been sitting there waiting to be recorded. And other tunes like that one, it goes back to the early 2000s. So I can't really go back to how it all came about, but I really wanted to use it as a new vehicle for improvising. And on the recording, Tony Hicks, who plays saxophone, and I, we have a great rapport musically. We've been playing together in other outfits for so many years, and when we do, we always have a great respect for each other to play. And all the tracks on the album too, folks, they're all recorded live. There's no overdubs. The group is playing live in the studio, so you're sort of hearing a capturing of time. So, yeah, sorry I can't answer that question specifically,
all right.
but that gives you something.
It's a different sound, isn't it, when it's live? Jack, with the album, people can download that?
Yep.
Usual download sites?
Well, let me tell you, people, the easiest place to do it, if you go via my website, and it's just jackpantazis.com, there's a Dropbox with Because of Her. And if you go to that Dropbox, you get all the links. And it sort of takes you, well, it does take you to Bandcamp. It's a site, folks, that you can, a lot of us are selling CDs and so forth, and it's very easy. So if you go to my website, you'll see the Dropbox Because of Her,
right.
And you just hit the link. And there's 2 options when you go to Bandcamp. You can buy it just as a digital download, or you can get the digital download, and I post out the CD to you anywhere in Australia.
Good on you, Jack. Look, it's good to catch up, and we'll play the song, and we wish you well, and nice to know you're back in music again. And we maybe catch up again at some stage, but here's the song. Let's play the song.
Right.
Here it is, What Again? Jack Pantazis, and what a gifted musician. The album called Because of Her.